Hey, I hope you're doing great today. We are going to work more on sentences and then we're going to read a story and talk about summarizing that story to determine the theme of the story. Okay? So let's start out. We've been talking about complete sentences, run on sentences, and sentence fragments. So we're going to practice with these first four and I'm going to explain my thinking. And then on the second four, I'm going to ask you to decide. Sentence number one, those cookies were yummy. I ate three of them. Now, that is a run on sentence because you've got one thought running into the next one. The first thought is, those cookies were yummy. And it's running right into that second thought, I ate three of them without any punctuation between them. What I would really need to do to fix this sentence would be to put a period after yummy and start a new sentence with I ate, or I could put a comma and the conjunction word so. Those cookies were yummy, comma, so I ate three of them. But you either need to split it into two sentences with a period, or you need to have a comma and a conjunction word there in order to make it a complete sentence. Because right now it is a run on. Sentence number two. A fork, a spoon, a knife, a bowl, and a plate. Well, they got their comma rules right. They got a comma after each thing they're listing until and, but we're not sure what all of that silverware and plate did. There's no predicate, there's no verb telling us what all of that silverware and the plate did. So, right now, it is a sentence fragment. Number three, I don't understand what's going on. Can someone please explain? Is a run on sentence. The first thought is, I don't understand what's going on. The second thought is, can someone please explain? So, since I have one thought running into the next thought, it is a run on sentence. The only way I could fix it would be to put a period after on and start a new sentence with can, or put in a comma and a conjunction word. Now, again, so is going to work here, but it's not always so. Sometimes it would be comma and or comma because, but right now it would be comma so. I don't understand what's going on, comma so. Can someone please explain? Would be how I would fix that sentence. But right now, number three is a run on because you've got one thought running into the next with no punctuation in between to separate them. Number four. What is this group of words? Well, it says, I'm going to the store to get some cheese. Well, it is a complete sentence because I have a subject, I, and it's in a contraction. Don't forget your apostrophes in those contractions. I've been noticing that. Make sure you put in those apostrophes in those contraction words that you learned in the first grade. But I have a subject, I, and I have a predicate, going to the store to get some cheese. So remember, the subject is the noun, who it's about, and the predicate starts with the verb. But this sentence number four is a complete sentence. Now it's your turn. Number five. This is going to be a long hike. Are you sure you can make it? What do you think? Is it a sentence fragment, run-on sentence, or a complete sentence? Well, I know that it is a run-on sentence because it has two thoughts, one running into the next. The first thought is, this is going to be a long hike. The second thought is, are you sure you can make it? Those two thoughts would need to be separated with either a period or a comma and a conjunction word to be complete, to be a complete sentence. Right now, it is a run-on because it's got that first thought running into the second thought without any punctuation in between to separate them. Number six, climbing up the side of the big scary mountain. What do you think? What is it? Sentence fragment, run-on sentence, or complete sentence? This is a sentence fragment because I don't know. I'm left wondering. It says climbing up the side of the big scary mountain, and I'm wondering what happened when they climbed up the side of the big scary mountain. So it is a sentence fragment. Number seven. Triangles have three sides and three angles. What do you think it is? A sentence fragment, run-on sentence, or complete sentence? Well, this is a complete sentence. I have a subject, triangles, And I have a predicate, have three sides and three angles. So number 7 is a complete sentence. Number 8, that high pitched, incredibly annoying whistle. What do you think? Complete sentence, run on sentence, or sentence fragment? It is a sentence fragment because I'm wondering, it says that pitched, incredibly annoying whistle. I'm wondering what it did. So if you're left wondering or asking a question, who did it? What did they do? It's probably a sentence fragment. And this is a sentence fragment in number 8. Okay, we'll talk more about sentences after your Christmas break. But right now, I'm going to move on to theme and summarizing. So we started yesterday. Well, we continued with theme, I should say. But what I did ask you to do is I asked you to, and I've been asking you to find the theme of passages uh, and evidence to support those themes. So just to review, let's start here. Just to review, remember when we summarize a story, we're using somebody wanted, but so then. Somebody wanted, but so then. And I even made you do it on your 5 fingers. Somebody wanted, but so then. Okay? Somebody, main character. What did they want? But what was the problem? The but's always the problem. So what changed? Okay, what changed to help solve the problem? That's the climax. Whatever changed in the story to start solving the problem. Then how did it end? What was the resolution? That's how we've been summarizing. And it's just an easy way because you make sure you get all the high points when you do that. Somebody wanted, but so then. Make sure you get all the high points when you retell a story because that's all you want to do is you want to retell. When you summarize, you retell in your own words and you only tell the big points from the story, the big moments from the story. So somebody wanted, but so then. Then after we summarize, that's when we can start thinking about what's the theme because we really need to, when we summarize, we think about what were the big things that happen because lots of times we get tripped up on theme because we want to think about little details and we don't need to think about little details. We need to think about the major things that happen in the story in order to determine the theme. Readers can determine the theme or central message, the lesson of a story, by paying attention to the lessons the characters learned or how the characters changed. So think, what lessons did the characters learn in the story? However, sometimes the characters don't necessarily learn lessons. Sometimes we learn the lessons from the mistakes the characters made. So you also got to think about that. But you could think about how the characters change from the beginning to the end of the story. You could think about number 3. What's the bigger message the author could be saying about life? And remember, theme is not just specific to that story. You're not going to say, Sue learned she shouldn't cheat on a test. A theme is a bigger lesson that we could apply to our lives. So themes are going to be like, be honest. Honesty is the best policy. Love triumphs all. And there are lots of other themes that we will talk about after Christmas as well. But think about theme as a lesson that we could all apply to our lives, not just that character in that story. So stay away from that and stay away from just looking at one little detail in the story and deciding the theme around that one little detail. That's why I ask you to summarize first and use somebody wanted, but so then, because it really brings the main things that happen in the story to the front of your mind to determine that theme. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to listen to a story. It's one of my favorite Christmas stories. It's called The Christmas Truce, and it is about war and soldiers in war during Christmas time. And after we're done, we're going to summarize this story, and then we're going to think about the theme of the story. So let me play the story for you. It's called Christmas in the Trenches.
Hello, 5th grade students. It's Mr. Carls. I'm excited to have been asked to read you a book, Christmas in the Trenches, and I hope you like it. Christmas in the Trenches, a story McCutcheon. The presents had been opened, and dinner was over. After a long walk through the snow-covered fields, young Thomas Tolliver curled up next to his grandfather and announced, "Grandpa, this was my very favorite Christmas. Do you have a favorite Christmas?" "Yes, Thomas, I do," said Grandpa Francis. "I was far away from our home here in Liverpool. It was a Christmas many years ago during the first winter of the Great War." "You were in a war, Grandpa?" chirped little Nora, climbing into his lap. "What was it like? Were you a hero?" Grandpa smiled. "Let's see," he said. "Why don't I start at the beginning?" The two children snuggled closer. It was 1914. We were all so young, just boys, lonely and frightened, trying to be brave. We'd spent a long, cold month in the muddy trenches that were now our home. We all knew that there would be no break in the fighting. We knew we would be spending Christmas in the trenches. That Christmas Eve was a night like tonight. The skies were clearing in frost-covered no man's land, the field that separated us from the German soldiers. Staring out towards the enemy trenches, we waited. Between the bombs and the battles, war is mostly waiting, waiting to see who will make the next move. That night, we figured it would be the Germans, and we were right. Suddenly, a sentry signaled for silence. We all hushed. A ghostly sound cut through the cold night air. Singing! It was coming from the enemy's side of no man's land. One of the lads who knew German said, "It's a Christmas carol. He's singing right well, you know." Soon it seemed every German voice joined in. When they were finished, what could we do? We sang right back at them. "God rest ye merry gentlemen." All of us knew that one. Then they sang something familiar. We couldn't understand the words. "Steel knock." But we knew the melody. It was Silent Night. And suddenly, in two tongues, one song filled the night sky. I never imagined singing could seem so holy. "Someone's coming towards us," the frontline sentry cried. As we aimed our rifles into the December darkness, we saw a most amazing sight. A single figure was coming across no man's land. In one hand he held a white truce flag, in the other a Christmas tree shining with candles. It was so surprising and so brave I couldn't help myself. I leapt from the trench and walked towards him. I was the first one, but soon everyone else from both sides was out there too. It was all so new and strange. We were nervous at first. Before long, though, we were trading small gifts, chocolates, tins of meat, whatever we had to share. When we began showing each other photographs from home, we were no longer soldiers, no longer enemies. We were all just sons and fathers far away from our families and loved ones. Our lad Sanders brought out his squeeze box. One of their boys joined in on a nice violin, and someone had a ball. It was quite the Christmas party we had, but all too soon the dawn reminded us it was time to get back to our own sides. Back to the trenches, back to the waiting, wondering what had just happened to us and wondering what the next move should be. That is my favorite memory. That Christmas in the trenches. I'm a different man today because of the boy I was that night. Grandpa hugged the children tighter. Was I a hero? Ah, for just one night, yes. We are all heroes. Wow. It's pretty powerful to read a book that, even though this was a fictional account, is based on a true story. Just to think of being in a war with people that you were trying to kill one minute, and then shortly after having a Christmas celebration. Um, really sheds light on the humanness within a war, and how even though people might be against each other, ultimately we're all humans. I hope you like this book. I think there's a lot we can gather from it and meaning, and I hope you use it well in your lessons. Take care, and Merry Christmas.
All right. So that was a great story. And while you were watching that, I was looking up because I feel like trying to fool with the volume, I kind of cut out the author of that story. The author of that story is John McCutcheon. And it is a fictional story, but it is based on a true event that happened during World War One. Uh, I was also thinking about what the theme could be, but let's and evidence that I heard in this story. So that's why I was taking some notes too. But first of all, let's do our somebody wanted but so then to summarize that story. Knowing that the main story was about the soldiers, they are going to be my somebody. And I'm thinking, what did the soldiers want? Well, they wanted to celebrate Christmas. But they were at war. So one German soldier, actually, it was a bunch of them who started singing. So the German soldiers began to sing. Then the soldiers came together to, and let me move my slide down a little bit so you can see it, to celebrate Christmas. So there are the major points in my story. The soldiers wanted to celebrate Christmas, but they were at war. So the German soldiers began to sing. Then the soldiers came together to celebrate Christmas. So I'm trying to think about what would be a good theme. Well, I believe, looking at my summary, that a good theme for this story, which would be a lesson that we could all learn, would be the fact, and I'm going to just think about theme. Theme. Okay. I think a good theme for this story would be love triumphs. Triumphs over all. Okay. Now remember, themes are lessons that we could all apply to our lives. And there are lots of different ways that you could say this. You could also, some people also shorten theme to even maybe one word like love or peace. But I'm going to go ahead and use the whole phrase. Love triumphs over all. And even the fellow that was reading the story, he talked about that at the end about how even though the soldiers disagreed and they were on opposite sides, they came together for one night to celebrate Christmas and their love for Christmas and all of their beliefs behind Christmas. So, what could be some text evidence from that story that would support my theme? Well, I heard one line in there, and there are many things that could have been used in that story as text evidence, but one line stuck out to me, and it said, "We were no longer soldiers. We were no longer enemies." And that would be text evidence to support my theme that love triumphs over all. I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. In your next lesson next week, you'll only have a quiz. That's the only thing that you'll have at the beginning of next week, and then some time to make up whatever you need to make up. If you need anything from me, just please let me know. Private text, call me, remind text me, email me, whatever you'd like to do, and I'll be happy to help. Thanks so much.